Hello everyone. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video, which is an introduction to the research I conducted in partnership with Engineers Without Borders UK on the Engineering for People Design Challenge. My name is Bryce Neuman, and I'm excited to be sharing this summary with you. It feels like a long time coming, and I hope to spark your interest in this research, further inspire your dedication to EWB and the Design Challenge, and contribute one small bit to all of the important work that our communities do. For good measure, I'll start with a brief personal and academic introduction. I'm from the US, where I finished a bachelor's in business in 2004 and a master's in engineering in 2009. The professional background that followed was in structural engineering for earthquake performance of buildings, which started in San Francisco and eventually took me to post-disaster, least developed country contexts, including Haiti and Nepal. In 2018, I returned to my studies and enrolled in an MA at the Technical University of Munich called Responsibility in Science, Engineering, and Technology. The RESET program is one of the few in TUM's Department of Science and Technology and Society. STS is a relatively new field and can most concisely be described as a social science of the technical sciences. The field was born in part from cultural anthropology and ethnographic research when scientists retrained their eyes inward and began more reflexively scrutinizing the way we practice and live science, engineering, and technology. In particular, this includes the way that the technical sciences interact and are co-created with politics, economics, education, media, law, ethics, and more. That being said, and while some of you may feel less familiar with the details of the field, I have no doubt that most of you are exercising it in some way or another. In 2019, while researching Engineers Without Borders chapters around Europe, I found an invitation from EWB-UK for practicing engineers to participate as reviewers in the Engineering for People Design Challenge. It was a casual and fun volunteer role that summer, but the more I thought about it, the more I was intrigued and inspired. Like many of you, I'm sure, this was a program I would have loved to participate in as an undergraduate, and I found it just as fascinating as a professional engineer and STS student. Soon I contacted EWB-UK to propose a sort of collaboration. The research I'm talking about today and the thesis it produced were the result of that collaboration and the culmination of the RESET degree. The team at EWB-UK and I had so many, really too many ideas for interesting and meaningful topics to investigate. They were furthermore opening the vault on a mountain of data for and from nearly 10 years worth of the challenge, which could have led in many directions and to many depths. After getting to know that material and viewing it alongside my perspectives, capabilities, and limitations, I decided to focus on the professionals who volunteered as reviewers and their relationship to the concept of globally responsible engineering that frames the design challenge. In very short summary, I settled on questions about how the meaning of GRE is constructed within the challenge, particularly by the reviewers, and how their participation is an act and lesson in those same concepts. I want to say a few quick words about my research methods, since this was in many ways a unique process. Much of the knit and grit came from analyzing the thousands of feedback comments that reviewers offered the students, along with their written responses to EWB in early applications and post-participation surveys. I also was able to snag 3 interviews with EWB staff members to get their perspectives on my questions as well. On top of that, this was a sort of multi-angled ethnography, as I observed and studied through the parallel experiences of volunteering as a reviewer, becoming welcomed as a part of the EWB-UK organization, and independently studying the program. The mouthful of a title I chose for my thesis is Visioneering Globally Responsible Engineering, an innovative undergraduate design competition and the professionals who volunteer to be a part of it. And throughout the work, I tell 3 interwoven stories. The first is my story. The second is a summary of what the reviewers contribute through their participation. And the third is a reflective look at how the reviewers fit into the design challenge and how the design challenge fits into their experience as engineers. So first, weaved throughout the report is my personal story. This is an intensely personal document. It recounts some of my own history and follows my experiences volunteering for the Design Challenge, becoming part of EWB-UK, and performing this research. Importantly, the writing does not attempt a sense of objectivity. Rather, it acknowledges and further engages with my own role and perspectives in shaping and performing the research. The second story summarizes the cumulative contributions of the reviewers through their evaluation comments to students and their other feedback to EWB. The marking criteria for the reports are framed around a set of global dimensions of responsible engineering, and through their interpretations and comments, the volunteer professionals amass a deep and detailed description of those categories. Plenty of other patterns in their feedback also emerge. The third story takes a further step back, looking holistically at some of the processes at work in the Design Challenge, and builds broader theories about reviewer contributions and experiences. These theories are born of my experiences and built upon the patterns observed in the data. They offer a description of the nuanced role of the reviewers in the context of the Design Challenge, who act as both experts and students, whose contributions are both brief and formative. Before getting into more of the findings and discussion, I want to be a bit more explicit about the fundamental framing of the research. EWB-UK designs the challenge to help develop globally responsible engineering students and provides a number of definitions for that concept, including saying that it broadly refers to the economic, social, and environmental issues which shape engineering work. They elaborate that these could be any social, political, technological, cultural, and environmental issues which impact design decisions. Furthermore, the marking criteria guiding reviews of student reports that was used from 2017 to 2019 codify a set of 6 global dimensions of GRE, namely the consideration of environmental, economic, and social community contexts, community consultation, ethical responsibilities, and longevity of the solution. The coding, analysis, and compilation of the reviewers' comments about each of these 6 global dimensions make up a substantial portion of the findings. This functions first as a catalog of the many different ways, too many to discuss now, that the reviewers conceive of and promote these global dimensions specifically, and the ideal of globally responsible engineering more generally. I was also able to identify interesting patterns within the responses that cut across the marking criteria and global dimensions. These included the way that reviewers viewed contextual considerations as both existing structures to design around and potential targets for engineering interventions, or the way they considered varying scales of targets and impacts from the immediate and hyperlocal to self-scaling societal revolutions. The reviewers also projected a tension between technical and social considerations that mirrors the heart of the Design Challenge itself, in their praise and criticism of student work and through what they themselves tended to target in their comments. An extraordinary breadth of focuses, interpretations, and guidance emerges, speaking to the diversity of the reviewer pool, the richness of the topics being explored, and the complexity of the task at hand. The discussion then takes these observations to build broader ideas to describe the reviewer experience and other processes at play. I make the general case that the various actor groups are collaboratively constructing this concept of globally responsible engineering, with EWB laying the groundwork with definitions, criteria, and framing, students generating detailed ideas and justifying them in design reports, and academics and professionals critiquing and providing feedback on those ideas, filling in many of the remaining gaps. Next, I note some other patterns in the reviewer contributions that seem to speak to conventional industry engineering experience and make the case that while some of those characteristics translate well to the reviewer role, in other cases certain limitations of engineering practice arguably lead to gaps in the reviewer contributions. Moreover, some of the very characteristics of engineering that EWB-UK and the Design Challenge aim to change are the ones that the reviewers seem less confident with. Rather than discounting these patterns as a deficiency of or incompatibility in the Design Challenge, I instead view them as productive, meaningful, and overarching parts of the overall program. For the reviewers, the experience is educational and practical in many of the same ways that it is for students. Furthermore, EWB-UK also contributes to parts of their broader goals by providing this type of learning experience to career engineers. Their mission to instill and inspire GRE explicitly extends to all of their partners and participants, including the reviewers. The Design Challenge is a tool to this end, and it and all of EWB-UK's work can be interpreted as visionary applications of engineering toward that same mission. And while EWB-UK is leading, or as I argue, visioneering that movement, the students, academics, professional engineers, and partner organizations around the world who join in are just as central to defining it, participating in it, and making sure it succeeds. I will note that this project, as is the case with all STS research, is overwhelmingly qualitative. The vast majority of my data was words, and the findings and discussion follow suit. The catalog of reviewer interpretations of the global dimensions is meant to be helpful for understanding this community of people and guiding them toward EWB's vision. The subsequent theory building is a bit more abstract and academic, but I hope can be useful when designing, framing, and executing this and other similar programs. For sure, I've already waded into new waters, bit off more than I could chew in 6 months, and won't oversell my results. Still, I hope that this research provides EWB with a new perspective on the Design Challenge, renews their attention to the multidimensional potential of their programs, and to whatever degree validates all of these efforts. To belabor the point, while this research had many limitations, there is one in particular that I must emphasize here. For a combination of reasons, the investigation looked neither at the participation phase of the Design Challenge, when students develop their ideas and modules at their home universities, nor more specifically at the role that the supervising academics play through that time. Without stepping too far beyond my work, I will suggest that similar research into the role and experience of participating academics would be very interesting, and dare to theorize that their story might have quite a bit in common with that of the reviewers. Shining a light on the academics and their contribution to the challenge would be a great start for continued research. Collecting and analyzing feedback from students on their experience with professors in the participation phase and reviewers in the competition phase would also strongly complement the research I conducted. There is furthermore so much to learn about the challenge and its impact on engineering students that is leaps beyond this work. Seeking out patterns that connect across module design, report score, and student self-assessments, or following up with students later in their academic tracks would be great to help us understand how formative the Design Challenge is and how it may impact professional ambitions. Circling back to the reviewers one last time, I will note how they are a diverse and motivated group of professionals volunteering their time for a list of reasons, including to learn themselves and to be part of a larger movement. The reviewer role is an efficient way to offer that chance, but it and other programs could go much further. These individuals are constantly looking for ways to connect with each other and scale their impact, and I think it would be to the program and community's benefit to continue to build these opportunities. This might take the form of an online interactive forum for reviewers or additional avenues for experienced participants to further mentor students or their fellow professionals. Any combination of these expansions would help this group connect more strongly with the concepts of GRE, contribute more precisely and completely to EWB programs, and proactively bring those same perspectives back to their own professional work. These are the intended outcomes for student participants in the Design Challenge and can be optimistically viewed the same for professionals who volunteer. Collaborating with EWB-UK on this research was a tremendous opportunity, opening new doors in and strengthening all of the goals of the work. Special appreciation goes out to Luke and Emma, who have personally supported this project since it began, as well as to the entire team who welcomed me into the organization. I have learned so much through their direct guidance and while independently studying their programs about engineering and how to lead it. I also gained wonderful new appreciations for how to connect across the technical and social sciences, including in research, education, and activism. At the simplest level, I connect strongly with the Engineering for People Design Challenge and EWB as ideas and as art, and I'm immensely proud to be a part of both in all the ways that I can be. Thank you all as well for your contributions to these same programs and for taking an interest in this research. If this introduction caught your attention, you are invited to dig deeper into the full report, which is published with a Creative Commons license and is available through EWB-UK or myself. I would be thrilled to take in any of your feedback or take a shot at answering any of your questions after you've watched this introduction or dug into the paper. Thank you once again, and I look forward to working with you all more and soon.